There's a heartbeat louder than thunder. Revolution is in the air. There's a heartbeat deep inside our mother. Are you too cool to care?
Hello and welcome to Heartbeat Alaska. I'm Jeannie Green. If this is the first time you've ever watched us, let me explain who we are. We're a Native News TV program, an entertainment program as well. We're produced here in Anchorage, Alaska. We have an all-Native staff. It's Native-owned and Native-produced. One of the things on Heartbeat Alaska that we really love are the videos that we get from viewers like you. News from villages and reservations, which you send to me and I edit into news packages. That way what you consider news becomes news to us. On today's program, we feature John Actor from KYU-KTV in Bethel. We travel to Kotzebue, Alaska, where the tourism season is winding down. We have all that plus much more. But let's begin today's program and find out what's happening across the nation in Indian country with Gary Fife and Native News Across the Nation.
This is Native News Across the Nation. I'm Gary Fife. In Iowa, a statewide newspaper poll has asked residents if they are opposed to a University of Iowa ban on mascots that depict Native Americans, and their findings show that 2/3 of them don't like the policy. The copyright poll conducted by the Des Moines Register shows that Iowans opposed the anti-mascot policy 3-1. The university's policy was put into place in April. It bans visiting university sports teams from bringing any mascot that depicts or represents Native Americans, or music, dance, or other behaviors that represent Native American culture in a trivial, negative, or stereotypical manner. The policy had been instituted at the request of Native students, faculty, and staff. The Southern Ute Tribe of Colorado has gotten into the public utility business. The tribe has announced an $87 million joint venture with an Arkansas firm to purchase and operate a natural gas pipeline and system. The tribe will jointly operate the system with their partners and may be considering upping their investment in the deal. Tribal officials say they now have more control over their natural resources and are making strides forward. Rapid City, South Dakota will play host for the upcoming 4th Annual Fetal Alcohol Syndrome and Effects Conference. Fetal alcohol syndrome and effect occur when pregnant women drink alcohol, and it leaves permanent damages in mental retardation and developmental disabilities. Native Americans suffer the highest rate of this preventable disease in the nation, and supporters of this 4th annual convention are hoping to share their educational guidance. Conference organizers will be using past participants who are now more experienced with the disease as workshop coordinators. All experts agree fetal alcohol syndrome and effect can be prevented. Pregnant women should not drink alcohol. Healthcare for members of the Navajo Nation should be a lot more accessible. The tribe and the Indian Health Service have dedicated a new hospital in Shiprock. The new facility is 3 times the size of the unit it replaces, and it carries a price tag of $50 million. Now, Navajo citizens will be spared the drive of 25 to 80 miles to find adequate and proper health care. A Kiowa leader of the last century has been the latest Native figure to be inducted into the National Hall of Fame for Famous American Indians. Kicking Bird, a chief of the Kiowa tribe of southwest Oklahoma, was honored last month for his fighting skills and his leadership of the Kiowa peoples during the turbulent times in the 1870s. He also guided the tribe through the difficult transition to reservation life and dealing with the non-native world. The famous leader was honored by old enemies. The commanding general of the Army base at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, saluted the Kiowa leader with bugles and a keynote speech. In spite of questions about the validity of the court and its chief judge, 2 Tlingit youths from Klawock, Alaska have begun their year of banishment to islands in the waters off southeast Alaska. Simon Guthrie and Adrian Roberts were convicted in the tribal court of beating and robbing a pizza delivery driver in Washington and were handed over to the tribal court at the request of self-appointed Judge Rudy James. But many in the community of Klawock have questioned whether the court was actually legal and whether it followed Tlingit tradition in such matters. The community of Klawock will vote on September 30th whether such courts should be allowed in the future. And finally, the Seneca Nation of New York has exercised its governmental powers, and with the help of U.S. Marshals, they're reclaiming a town on their reservation. The city of Salamanca, New York, sits on Seneca land, and for over 100 years it paid next to nothing to their landlords, the Seneca Nation. That ended in 1991 when the tribe refused to renew the old lease and demanded that homeowners and businesses pay realistic rates for the use of Seneca lands. But nearly 200 of those lessees have refused to sign new leases at higher rates, saying the new leases would affect their home rights or property values. Tribal officials are holding a hard line, though, saying either sign up or be evicted. This is Native News Across the Nation. For Heartbeat Alaska, I'm Gary Fife.
Thank you, Gary. We move now from one award-winning journalist to another. John Actor from KYUK-TV, with the help of editor Victor Trotto, brings us a special look at the Yupik people.
This is Southwest Alaska, home of the Yupik Eskimo, where about 20,000 of us live in 48 villages scattered over 75,000 square miles in the Yukon and Kuskokwim deltas. We Yupik predominantly live off the land that is called subsistence. Our villages are located near the two major rivers, the Yukon and Kuskokwim. During the winter, these rivers are frozen over, 10 feet thick in places, but with the arrival of spring, the river ice breaks up and goes out to sea. We call ourselves the Yupik, meaning the real people. We were once nomadic, moving to hunting, fishing, and gathering areas as the seasons presented themselves. Our home villages in winter are near the rivers, which are always abundant with fish. In early summer, the warming water temperatures cause fish to return to the river to spawn, and we Yupik begin our yearly cycle of subsistence fishing. First come the smelts, silver-scaled fish up to 9 inches long and very oily, swimming against the swift current. We use long-handled dip nets, which we drag along the river's bottom to catch them. We take tubfuls and fry them fresh out of the water. The others we hang to dry after stringing them onto long, slender tree branches. After the smelt have dried, we smoke them in our smokehouses to eat them later in winter, dipped in seal oil. Soon the smelt have gone up the Kuskokwim River to spawn. Then come the salmon, and these we fish with equal gusto. Our elders teach us to fish as long as the fish are in the river. The salmon swim by our villages for a short 3 months during the summer. The winter yet to come is 9 months long, and we must have food for our tables. We take our catches to our summer camps, where we have pitched our tents early in the season, nestled along the banks of the river. The women using their ulloks prepare the whole fish, save the gills and guts. The fish are washed and then sliced open like a book and the backbones removed. The ulloks glide cleanly through the slabs of fish in half-inch diagonal cuts at an angle from the middle towards the neck and likewise towards the tail. The fish are split in this way so that when they are hung on the racks, the cuts open up and make for better drying. Soon our drying racks are filled with king salmon, and after they have dried for about a week, the fish are transferred into the boyuchtiwiks, or smokehouses, and there they will cure as alder and cottonwood smoke gently wafts throughout the whole smokehouse. After we have fished the king salmon, then come the sockeye, followed by the chum salmon and the cohos. These we also fish and prepare as we have done with the kings. During the same time, we also fish commercially and sell our catches to fish buyers who have come to the Kuskokwim River from other places like in Washington State. For most of us, this is the only means of making money in a whole year. Only a handful of us work full-time for state and government agencies or other service organizations. Jobs are scarce, and there is no real economy here, and it is the fish we fall back upon to help us buy what we need. In celebration of our good fortune, we Yup'ik visit one another's villages and attend summer festivals. We have games and contests for the children and renew old friendships. Today, our villages have incorporated the 4th of July with our ancient ritual. Villages up and down the Kuskokwim River observe their activities not on the 4th itself, but on different days, so we can attend each other's festivities. All of this is in celebration of our subsistence fishing lifestyle, which is everything to us. So, season after season, we fish until one day we will be too old to fish anymore, and we can say of ourselves that we have done well. In Bethel, on the Kuskokwim River, I'm John Active.
Not so complicated, as simple as can be. You're always a comfort to set my spirit free. Oh, you're a part of me, that's the heart of me. Dr. Pepper, you're a part of me. Dr. Pepper, you're a part of me.
Does moving the capital make sense for all of Alaska?
I don't like the whole idea of pitting one community against another. I think it's real divisive. We did that with Subsistence.
There's a moral cost when Alaskans deliberately destroy its third largest city.
I don't see any reason why a few people sitting around in Wasilla deciding that they need some economic development should do it at the expense of their fellow Alaskans.
I don't think anybody's going to benefit from the capital move.
Vote against the capital move because it's a bill every Alaskan will pay.
Heartbeat Alaska is made possible by the following. By Coca-Cola, serving Alaska quality soft drinks since 1937. And by Chugach Alaska Corporation, committed to profitability, celebration of their heritage, and ownership of their lands. It's fall time here in Alaska, and the tourist season is winding down. In Kotzebue, Alaska, they had a great summer. Many people visited that community, and like other tourists, they tasted the local fare. No, not in a hot new restaurant. This was on the tundra, eating blueberries.
And let's say a family of 9 people that picks berries from 10 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon for 1 week can pick 2 55-gallon tanks full of berries from all over this area. Then you freeze them, then you eat them raw as is all winter long, or you can make preserves, jams, jellies, pies, blueberry muffins, blueberry pancakes. We also used to make brandy and wine from the berries here. And those are an important source of vitamin C. A quarter cup of these tundra. Once the baby soils...
Summer tourist season just wrapped up in many parts of rural Alaska, including Kotzebue in northwest Alaska. One of the most popular parts of the tour includes a bus ride out onto the tundra. Tour guide Martin Lee Woods was born in Kotzebue. He also worked as a tour guide at the Prudhoe Bay oil fields.
On some of the moss you would get lichen, which is like a fungus that is also food for the caribou and the reindeer. So as you can tell, this is not necessarily barren ground tundra. If you know what to look for, what time of the year to pick these plants, how to use them properly, you can survive out here with just a knife. Of course, if you're a vegetarian. If you eat meat, then you'll learn to hunt.
Several years ago, the region's native corporation, NANA, began operating the tour company Tour Arctic. This year, roughly 10,000 tourists toured Kotzebue, up about 700 people from last year.
They'll get off the flight, come over here and see the museum program, the Eskimo dancing, the blanket toss, the storytelling, slideshow, and wildlife diorama. And then they'll hop on the bus, do a little bit of the city tour, go around, see the sights of Kotzebue, head on up to the tundra, and where they'll see the different type of vegetation that we harvest. And then after that, they'll go over to the culture camp. The youth will give a presentation on the different types of tools and different types of clothing that we utilize to make items such as beaver hats, mukluks, parkas.
According to Tour Arctic's Guy Adams, the tourism industry in Kotzebue generated $1 million and employs over 100 people a year. The tourism industry in Kotzebue is short, only 108 days long, but still they're hopeful. They're hoping that the tourism industry with Tour Arctic will grow to accommodate 12,000 people a year. Let's turn now to Brevig Mission, where they had a birthday party. Not just any birthday party. The Brevig Memorial Church turned 100 years old. They arrived by the hundreds to attend the centennial celebration of the Brevig Memorial Lutheran Church. People came by boat and plane from as far away as Anchorage. The Joint Lutheran Conference in Centennial held special meaning for many of these people. The trip to Brevig Mission brought back memories of stories from their parents and grandparents. Brevig Mission was the home of the Brevig Orphanage, founded to provide a home for children who lost their parents and families to the 1918 flu epidemic that wiped out many native villages of Alaska.
My mom was raised in the Lutheran orphanage ever since she was small, and it was really hard for her to understand what happened to her family when they died in the epidemic, because they were fine one day and then the next day her whole family died except for her and her brother.
The church at Brevig Mission was created when reindeer was brought over to this northwest area of Alaska from Siberia. 100 years ago, Lapland and Norwegian reindeer herders refused to stay unless they had a preacher. Preacher Tolaf Brevig was brought in. The area was home to small native villages. When the reindeer station was founded, natives began moving into that area. Today, Brevig Mission is home to 240 people, most of which are Inupiat Eskimos, who cooked for days ahead of time to feed the 400 people at the celebration. The main dish, reindeer stew, donated from reindeer herders from surrounding areas. The feast was rich and delicious, and so was the fellowship, bringing hundreds together to nourish the body and soul. The memories of the flu epidemic that brought orphans to Brevig Mission will always remain, and so will the memories of lasting friendships.
It has real special meaning for me because I meet with my childhood pastor and his wife. This year I've been wanting to see them ever since maybe they left when I was little girl. And I've been wanting to see them all these years, and I finally see them. Their names are Pastor Jim and Audrey Pearson, and that's so good for me.
Heartbeat Alaska is made possible by TCC, a joint venture with Chenega Bay, Tutitlik, and Chugach Alaska Corporation. Through SERVS, Ship Escort Response Vessel System, providing tanker escort services in Prince William Sound, protecting our environment. Chugach Alaska Corporation.
Celebrate the 127th anniversary of Alaska's oldest retail merchants, Alaska Commercial Company, at our 18 AC Value Centers. Customer service is our first priority.
He was Heartbeat Alaska. Hello from Utah.
Thank you, David Renner, for the video on Brevig Mission, Alaska. You made the story possible. From time to time, loyal watchers of Heartbeat Alaska will know that I'm always asking for video from Native bands. Whether you're Native across the Americas, the lower 48, or in Alaska or Canada, please send me the video. This is what I do with them. Coming up next is the English Bay Band with Flight by Night.
This Friday night is something I don't wanna see. baby, oh, don't you see? Love is so cold, girl, I hate to be me. Hold me close, heart's warm desire. Is this flight the night or something I don't wanna see?
From all of us here at Heartbeat Alaska, I'd like to thank you for inviting us into your home for Native News from way up north. I'm Jeannie Green, bringing you Heartbeat Alaska. See you next week.